So how would you describe the state of K-12 education here in our state?
Well, Christy, I wouldn't even start there. I call it P20, prenatal through lifelong learning, because I think that's where we need to get to. But in terms of K-12, we're making some major improvements. There's great hardworking people, teachers, administrators in the system, but we need to show better results and more outcome-based results, focusing on student growth. And that's where I'm excited about some of the programs, like teacher effectiveness we're working on in terms of having a program to help teachers be more effective, not in a threatening way, but in a positive way. Student-centered learning is an exciting model. So there's many good things going on.
We talk about that education is about the children, but it does come down to money and to funding, and we know that a lot of districts have long-term liabilities that they're trying to take care of. How do we balance out paying for that along with funding our kids' education?
Well, that's a major initiative we've done at the state level. We've increased funding for education over the time I've been governor for K through 12. It's not been easy. And if you look at, we're putting a lot more resources into funding retirement plans because that was a huge cost that we're going to school districts. So although the per pupil foundation allowance may not be really increasing in a way people would like to see, we're taking away another huge obligation from these school districts by helping them fund much more of the retirement costs. And those dollars will end up helping in the classroom.
So the per pupil is bumped up a little bit, about 2%. How is that going so far in talking to legislators? Do you think you're going to be able to get that through for the budget?
I hope so, because I think it's a very responsible answer in terms of the long term. And we need to keep doing that over the next few years, because if we can continue a path of making sure we're putting resources in a smart way in terms of funding these obligations, we're setting up a success model for the long term. That eventually, in the future years, thinking about a decade or two, it just becomes a fabulous model because we would have taken care of legacy problems that we ignored for far too long.
Let's talk about early childhood education and those little 4-year-olds who need that education more than anything. You've talked about taking $130 million and starting to get more kids educated at that level. We even heard the president talk about it in his State of the Union address. Why has it taken so long for us to address early childhood education in Michigan?
Fair question. Because if you can help kids get started at the early age, it makes a huge difference. So that's why I focused in, even coming into office or campaigning on it as a topic. We didn't have the resources before because of all our budget challenges. Now we're getting back on track and starting to do well enough we can make an investment like that. Because our Great Start program to help those early childhood kids, we were leaving out about 29,000 kids. We were spending about $100 million a year if you go back to the last decade on average. So if you think about it, we're going to more than double our commitment over the next 2 years to early childhood and hopefully provide an opportunity for all those kids, including those 29,000 that haven't been eligible, to get in the program. And that makes a big difference because there have been studies to show how many grades did they have to repeat for kids that weren't in the program.
Let's talk a little bit about the Education Achievement Authority at the state level. You want to expand the reach. Some critics have said, whoa, that could take away some local control. Yeah. How would you explain the EAA, the successes that maybe it's had, and how you want to expand? Well,
the successes are exciting. I've made the tour more than once. I love going on the tour. It gets me all fired up because you go in and just talk to the kids. I always talk to the teachers and administrators, but the most exciting part is talk to the kids. They're doing student-centered learning, where the kids are defining their own future in learning, and they're excited about learning. And you talk to them about years before, how was school going? It wasn't working well for them. Now they're fired up about what they're learning and doing in school. That's fabulous. So it's got a bright future. And the goal of the EAA isn't to be something goal is not to take over schools, it's to deal with the most persistently failing schools and allow districts to focus on their other schools so they can succeed, help places that need the most help, and then the other part is be this place of innovation. And I view it as a lot of the cool stuff they're doing, you don't need to be part of the EAA to do that. Any school district can do those same things, and I encourage them to do that so the EAA can take those ideas and learn. So I view it as a great place to innovate, going back and forth with other school districts in our state, and a place to deal on a limited